Hello everybody, once again, welcome back to the channel. I'm in the car for a double feature weekend since we missed last weekend, and I figured, you know what, screw it, let's go to another movie. Today's film was none other than the latest Russell Crowe starring horror film about exorcism, The Exorcism. Overall, how do I score this film? I give it a 3 out of 10. This film is bad. And I mean, it's just bad. There are very few parts in it that are actually like really good or redeemable, if I'm just being entirely honest. The climax of the film, I couldn't help but laugh just because of how kind of ridiculous it is. This film's just bad. It's boring when you don't want it to be. It explains way too much when you don't want any explanation, and it doesn't explain anything that actually would have been interesting to have explained. This film literally is one of those things where it's like watching it when I left the theater, actually, like after watching it, I just felt like, man, they could have done a way better job and it wouldn't have been that hard to do. This film's just bad. It's bad because, like, the directions, the cinematography's decent for a horror film. It's pretty well shot. The premise is interesting, and the acting is good, but it's just like the dialogue is bad, the storyline is, and a lot of it just falls flat. It's just bad. Better than Night Swim, but at the same time, that's really not too hard to do. I think I may have scored Night Swim better, but I think at the time I was just kind of burnt out. We'd seen so many poor movies. So yeah, 3 out of 10. Do I recommend seeing this in theaters? Absolutely not. If you are into horror, if you're into Russell Crowe, you might get a kick out of it, but I honestly recommend, like, wait until it's free on streaming. Don't even bother, like, paying for it when it's on streaming. It's just not good. It's just not good. Anyway. So, yeah, just, there's a couple of things in it. I'll get into it in spoilers if you guys are interested in that. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about The Exorcism 2024? Or is there a horror movie that you're interested in seeing that hasn't been released this year? Let us know in the comments and we'll try to see it. Otherwise, be sure to subscribe. We watch old movies, new movies, bad movies, movies in general. We like to talk about them. That's something that we're really interested in on this channel. So if that interests you, this channel will interest you. Be sure to share this with your friends as well. Otherwise, I'll go ahead. I'll move on. Spoilers. Spoilers. The climax of this film that made me laugh so freaking hard is it got super duper dramatic, and it's like the fatherly priest figure who's like the entire film just kind of like so unconvincing just decides, like, I'm going to save this man and I'm going to sacrifice myself in order to do it, and I'm going to let the demon possess me so that the main character, the dad, Russell Crowe, can live with his daughter. And he does this whole thing, and Russell Crowe has like a spark in his faith that's been like damaged for the last 40 years because he was abused by a priest, and he's like convincing, and he's finally saying the line, and he's saying the line with conviction. So he's like actually performing this exorcism, and it doesn't work. And it's just like, well, of course it wouldn't work. But it seemed to work, but it didn't work, because why would it work? It's a horror film that's so stereotypical. Of course it wouldn't work. What do you think you are? A hero? Anyway, the thing that made me laugh really hard about the climax, though, is he picks up the crucifix and he starts trying to do the exorcism, and the demon's like, you're unredeemable. I can't possibly be defeated by you. And Russell Crowe just takes the crucifix and stabs it in the dude's head, and he uses it as a shank while he's performing the exorcism. And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, I couldn't help but laugh because it's just like, it's so ridiculous. It's like, I'm using the crucifix as a shank. to finish the job, kill the demon. Be gone, serpent. He just stabs him with a crucifix. Creative use of a crucifix, you know, like creative use. Never seen it before, but at the same time, this film had just been so ridiculous and over dramatic to the point where it's just like, why wouldn't it end with Russell Crowe shaking a demon with a crucifix? Like I said, I literally was just like laughing in the theaters, but and then it ends, and it's like the ending is good. Like there's parts in this film where like I left the theater, I was like, there's parts of this film that are good, but the film overall is just bad. The ending's good, like the final monologue where he's talking like, we've been trying, you know, forgive me, Father, it's been a day since my last infection, and I've been really trying hard to be with my daughter and have a relationship with her, and I understand that grace isn't, that my entire past is forgotten and forgiven. And he does this whole thing. But it's like the monologue that he's performing is good, but then the shots are just like over dramatic, showing the daughter at the beach smoking a cigarette, her hair now long, and she's been making a script that she's sending to her dad, and then she's driving away in a classic car that she never once showed that she owned. And then the final shot's like the crucifixes in hyperfocus, and it's just like the cinematography could be really good at times, but it's just like the premise is good. The way they executed it made it so ridiculous, and it felt like I was watching kind of like a telenovela for a horror film. It's just one of those things where it's like, I liked Russell Crowe's character and what he was talking about, but they didn't really explain a lot to be like, well, maybe he has this like really bad relationship with religion due to the fact that he really was like super devout, and you know it meant a lot to him, and then he was abused by the priests and stuff like that. But it's so odd how they executed it. They could have done so many different things, and they could have done a much better job with that storyline. And the premise was actually interesting for a while too, but the issue is that the premise that they put in the description, the synopsis, like, you know, essentially what you would see on the back cover of the DVD versus what you see in the trailers and what you see in the actual theater really was disappointing. Reading the description, I thought it was going to be a little bit more like, is this actually happening, or is he having some kind of psychotic break because he's off of his meds? But that's not really explained. It's not really explained what his meds do. It doesn't really explain what his meds are about and why he's refusing to take them. And then it's also pretty clear from like the first scene all the way through to the end that there's actually a supernatural thing going on. So a lot of the fact that they keep playing at like, oh, well, I can't be sure that any of this is happening when they're literally experiencing all this stuff happening. And it doesn't work very well with that. Like I said, like some of the dialogue is okay because it's performed well. I like Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe does a really good job playing menacing and slightly off-putting in horror. Like Unhinged, he did really great in that. I liked him as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in The Mummy, the 2017 Mummy, but that film was just awful. But he did okay in it. Like, he plays good, slightly off, menacing older person. So it's just one of those things where it's just like, it seemed like there was a great deal of potential, but then it gets squandered. There's a great deal of potential, but then it's over dramatized. There's a great deal of potential, and then all the trauma, or not all the trauma, all of the tension gets swept away. It gets really interesting, and then the climax is getting shanked by a crucifix. You know, it's just one of those things where it's like, this film could have done so much, and it had the potential for so much. It had a great cast. It had decent acting, and then it would just be like, there'd be decent acting, then there'd be absolutely atrocious acting. There'd be decent little bits of monologue and explanation and stuff like that, but it was in the wrong places. Like I said, it's like the things that got explained, I didn't want explained. The things I wanted explained, I didn't get explained. So it's just one of those things where it's just like the film just like picks up and drops everything, picks up and drops everything, picks up and drops everything. It's just not a great film. So, anyway, I'm done talking about it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.